There is something quiet about money. Not the numbers, not the conversations, but the way it lives inside people. Money rarely speaks out loud. It settles in the chest. It tightens the stomach. It waits until the room is dark and the body finally lies down. Most people do not worry about money because they want more. They worry because they are afraid of not lasting, afraid of running out, afraid of falling behind, afraid of being unable to rest. This is not greed. This is survival. Some people carry this fear silently for years. They go to work, they answer messages, they smile in conversations. And yet, somewhere underneath all of that, there is a constant calculation happening. How long can I keep going like this? What happens if something breaks? What happens if I get sick? What happens if I slow down? These thoughts do not come from ambition. They come from pressure. And the pressure does not always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks very normal. A quiet evening, a body lying in bed, a phone turned face down, lights off, and still the mind keeps moving. For many people, nighttime is not rest. It is accounting. It is replaying choices. It is preparing for losses that have not happened yet. There are people who fall asleep exhausted, not because they worked too much, but because they carried too much. Money becomes the background noise of their lives, always present, rarely addressed, never resolved. And the hardest part is this: most of them do not talk about it. They believe that worrying about money means they are weak, or ungrateful, or not disciplined enough. But the truth is simpler. Worrying about money often means you have learned, at some point, that safety is fragile. Maybe you saw adults argue quietly behind closed doors. Maybe you grew up hearing phrases like, "We can't afford that." Maybe you learned early that rest must be earned. These lessons do not disappear with age, they settle deeper. So when someone says, "I'm just tired," they might really mean is, "I don't know how long I can keep holding this." This space you are in right now is not about fixing anything. There is nothing you need to understand, nothing you need to solve. This is not a lesson. This is not advice. This is a place where you are allowed to stop performing strength. You do not need to prove that you are responsible. You do not need to prove that you are capable. You do not need to prove that you can handle it. Right now, you are not required to think ahead. You are not required to plan. You are not required to improve your situation. For these moments, money does not need your attention. If your mind drifts to numbers, let it. If it drifts to worries, let it. Nothing needs to be pushed away. There is no wrong way to be here. Many people believe rest is something that happens after everything is solved. But rest is often what allows things to stop hurting. You may notice that your body is still holding tension. That is okay. You may notice your thoughts looping. that is also okay. You are not failing at this. Before we go any further, there is one quiet question worth asking, not to answer, just to let it exist. How long has it been since you slept without thinking about money? Not since you slept deeply, not since you slept long, but since you slept without calculation, without fear, without mental preparation for tomorrow. There is no need to search for the answer. The question itself is enough. This moment is not about changing your relationship with money. That comes later, if it comes at all. For now, this is simply a place where your nervous system can begin to soften. A place where you do not have to carry everything alone. Nothing more is required of you here. After sitting with the quiet truth about money, another layer begins to appear. Not louder, not clearer, just heavier. This is the part no one sees. Financial stress is often imagined as chaos. Bills on the table, voices raised, urgency everywhere. But for many people, it looks nothing like that. It looks like responsibility carried alone. There are people who hold the financial weight of an entire household. Not loudly, not dramatically, just steadily. They remember dates, they calculate margins. They think 2 steps ahead so no one else has to. They make sure things keep moving, rent paid, food bought, problems delayed just long enough. From the outside, they look reliable, capable, strong. Inside, they rarely rest, because when you are the one holding things together, there is no obvious place to put the weight down. No one asks how heavy it feels. They ask if it's handled. And most of the time, the answer is yes. Not because it feels okay, but because stopping feels dangerous. There are also people who do have money, enough to breathe, enough to survive, and still, they don't spend it. Not because they are disciplined, not because they are wise, but because spending feels unsafe. They hesitate before small purchases. They replay decisions long after they're made. They choose restraint even when comfort is possible. Money stays untouched, not as freedom, but as protection. For them, money is not something to enjoy. It is something to guard. They learned somewhere along the way that what exists today can disappear tomorrow. So they hold tightly, even when holding hurts. Both of these lives look different on the surface, but underneath, they share something very similar. Isolation. Financial pressure is rarely shared honestly, not because people don't want support, but because they don't know how to explain it without sounding ungrateful or dramatic or irresponsible. So they keep quiet. They talk about work. They talk about plans. They talk about everything except the thing that keeps them awake. They learn to carry conversations the same way they carry their worries, carefully. Because money is tied to identity, to worth, to the story of who is doing well and who is not. And stepping outside that story feels risky. So many people live with a quiet fear that if they spoke honestly, they would be seen differently. Less capable, less successful, less stable. So instead, they stay silent. This silence does not mean the worry is small. It means it is learned to hide. And hiding takes energy. There are moments during the day when the loneliness surfaces unexpectedly. Standing in a store, looking at something simple, calculating more than just the price. Hearing someone talk about ease, about travel, about freedom, and feeling a distance open quietly inside. Smiling at the right moments, nodding at the right times, keeping the inner weight contained. This is not weakness. This is adaptation. People adapt to pressure in the best way they know how. And sometimes, adaptation looks like silence. If this feels familiar, there is nothing wrong with you. Financial loneliness is not a personal failure. It is a human response to carrying responsibility without space to rest, and it is far more common than it appears. There are many people walking through their lives with the same invisible weight. They do not recognize each other because everyone has learned how to look fine. There are worries about money that live in thousands of people at once, yet are spoken by almost no one. Not because they are rare, but because they feel private. And in this quiet space, it is enough to acknowledge that truth. You do not need to explain your situation. You do not need to justify your choices. You do not need to compare your weight to anyone else's. Right now, there is no audience. This is simply a place where the loneliness does not need to be hidden. You are not required to solve it. You are not required to talk through it. Just noticing it is already a form of relief. There are worries about money that many people carry, and very few ever say out loud. And you are not alone in holding them. After the loneliness is acknowledged, something else becomes noticeable, not what money gives, but what it quietly takes. Not houses, not cars, not visible success. Something much closer. Sleep is often the first thing to leave. Not all at once, not dramatically. It fades slowly. The body lies down, but the mind stays upright. Thoughts continue their movement long after the lights go out. Planning, revising, anticipating. Even when exhaustion is present, rest does not fully arrive. Sleep becomes lighter, interrupted, incomplete. And over time, the body learns a pattern. Being tired does not guarantee rest. Then presence begins to thin. You may still be physically there, sitting at a table, standing in a room, listening to someone speak, but part of you is elsewhere, running numbers, replaying conversations, forecasting outcomes. Moments happen, but you are only partially inside them. A meal is eaten, yet the taste barely registers. Words are spoken, yet they pass through without landing. The world continues, but you experience it from a distance. This absence is subtle, hard to explain, easy to normalize. Many people don't realize it is happening until they try to remember when they last felt fully here. And then there are the small joys, the quiet pleasures, the unremarkable comforts. They do not disappear suddenly. They simply stop being noticed. A warm drink, a slow morning, a brief pause between tasks. These moments still exist, but they no longer reach you because the mind is elsewhere, holding something heavier. Over time, the nervous system adjusts. It learns to stay alert. It learns to stay ready. Even during moments meant for ease, there is a background tension, a sense that enjoyment should be limited, that relaxation should be brief, that ease must be justified, not consciously, but deeply. This is not because money is evil. It is because uncertainty changes how the body behaves. When safety feels conditional, the body stays prepared, and preparation leaves little room for softness. You may notice that even when things are going okay, you don't fully believe it. There is always a quiet "for now." For now, things are stable. For now, nothing is wrong. For now, you are managing. This "for now" follows you. It sits with you during conversations. It eats with you during meals. It lies beside you when you try to sleep. And slowly, it shapes your experience of time. Life becomes something to manage, not something to inhabit. This is not a failure of gratitude. This is not a flaw in character. It is a nervous system responding to prolonged pressure. When the future feels uncertain, the present becomes narrow. Attention shrinks. Joy becomes cautious. Not because you don't want to enjoy life, but because enjoyment feels risky. There is a fear, often unspoken, that if you relax too much, something will slip. That if you let go, you will miss a sign, a warning, an opportunity to prevent loss. So you stay slightly tense, even during good moments, and this tension extracts a quiet cost. It takes depth, it takes color, it takes fullness. Not in obvious ways, but in accumulation. Days pass, weeks pass, and one day you realize you have been present only in fragments. This realization can be painful, but it does not need to become another burden. Nothing here is meant to blame you. You adapted in order to survive. And adaptation always comes with trade-offs. Right now, it is enough to notice what has been affected. Sleep that does not fully restore. Moments that pass without landing. Joy that feels distant rather than absent. You do not need to reclaim anything yet. There is no task here, no correction, just awareness. Awareness allows the body to register that the cost has been seen, and being seen is often the first step toward relief. For now, let this noticing be gentle. Nothing needs to change in this moment. After noticing what has been lost, there is often a quiet question that appears. How do I rest when my mind will not stop? Many people believe meditation begins with silence, a clear mind, a calm inner space. But for those carrying financial pressure, silence can feel unreachable. Thoughts arrive uninvited. Numbers, deadlines, unfinished responsibilities. And when these thoughts appear, people often believe they are doing something wrong. They try to push them away. They try to correct the mind. They try to become calm. But effort adds tension, and tension keeps the body alert. This is a different kind of rest. Here, nothing needs to be quiet. The mind does not need to behave. It does not need to slow down. It does not need to cooperate. You are not here to empty your thoughts. You are here to sit beside them. Thoughts about debt may surface. Thoughts about bills may move through. Images of responsibility may repeat themselves. Let them. Not to solve them, not to analyze them, just to notice their presence. The mind is not the problem. It is doing exactly what it learned to do. When pressure lasts a long time, the brain stays vigilant. It scans. It prepares. It protects. Trying to silence that response is like asking a guard to sleep during danger. Instead of asking the mind to stop, you allow it to continue without following it. A thought appears. You notice it. Another thought arrives. You notice that too. There is no need to finish the thought. No need to reach a conclusion. Just awareness. The body begins to receive a new message. Thinking is allowed, and rest is still possible. You may notice sensations underneath the thoughts. A tight jaw, a shallow breath, a heaviness in the chest. These sensations do not require correction. They are signals. They are simply showing where effort has been held. You do not need to change them. As attention rests gently nearby, the body begins to feel less alone with them. Rest does not arrive because thoughts disappear. It arrives because resistance softens. You are not fighting the mind anymore. You are not negotiating with it. You are letting it pass, the way weather passes through a sky. The sky does not stop clouds. It holds them. In the same way, you are not the content of your thoughts. You are the space that notices them. This space is already here. It does not need to be created. Even now, with the mind still active, something deeper can settle. The nervous system responds to permission. Permission to think, permission to feel, permission to not resolve anything. When permission is present, the body slowly shifts out of urgency. Not completely, not instantly, but enough. Enough for the shoulders to lower slightly, enough for the breath to deepen a little, enough to remind the system that rest does not require perfection. You may notice moments of quiet appearing on their own, small gaps between thoughts. You do not need to hold on to them. They will come and go. This practice is not about control. It is about trust. Trust that the body knows how to settle when it is not being forced. Trust that rest can coexist with thinking. There is no correct pace here, no correct state to reach. If the mind stays busy, that is fine. If it slows briefly, that is fine too. You are not being evaluated. Rest is not a reward for calmness. It is a basic need. You do not need to be okay before you are allowed to rest. You do not need to be finished. You do not need to be resolved. Right now, thinking and resting are allowed to exist together, and that is enough. There is a question that lives quietly in many people. It does not shout. It does not rush. It waits. It often appears in moments of stillness, after the body begins to soften, when the usual defenses lower just enough. What if tomorrow I do not produce anything? Not because I chose to rest, not because I planned a break, but because I cannot. For many, this thought carries a subtle fear. Not dramatic, not catastrophic, just unsettling. It is not about losing money alone. It is about losing justification. In many cultures, especially here, worth is closely tied to output. What you do, what you contribute, what you bring in. From an early age, productivity becomes a language of belonging. Being useful means being valued. Being active means being safe. Over time, this message becomes internal. So the idea of not earning, even briefly, can feel like falling out of the story. If I am not producing, am I still acceptable? If I am not contributing financially, do I still deserve care? These questions rarely get spoken aloud. They feel too vulnerable, too uncomfortable. So they stay inside, shaping behavior quietly. People keep going when they are tired. They push through when their bodies ask to stop. They stay available even when they are depleted, not always because they want more, often because stopping feels like disappearance. This is not greed. This is fear of becoming irrelevant. And this fear does not come from nowhere. It is learned through subtle signals. Praise for busyness, approval for endurance, respect for sacrifice. Rest, on the other hand, often needs explanation. So when someone imagines a day without earning, the mind fills the space with doubt. Will I still matter? Will I still be chosen? Will I still be loved? These are not financial questions. They are relational. They speak to a deeper concern that love might be conditional, that care must be earned, that worth is something to maintain. But worth was never meant to function like income. You existed before you produced anything. You mattered before you contributed. As a child, your value was not measured in output. It was measured in presence. Somewhere along the way, that truth became blurred. And yet, it has not disappeared. The body still knows the difference between being valued and being useful. One brings ease, the other brings tension. When survival depends on usefulness, rest feels risky. But survival and worth are not the same thing. You can stop producing and still be worthy of care. You can pause and still belong. You can exist without output and still be enough. These are not affirmations to repeat. They are reminders to let land gently. There is no need to convince yourself of anything here. Just notice what happens in your body when the idea of not earning appears. Tightness, resistance, or maybe relief mixed with guilt. All of it is information. Nothing here needs correction. This space is not asking you to quit. It is not asking you to let go of responsibility. It is simply asking one quiet question and allowing it to rest. If you did not create economic value tomorrow, would you still deserve tenderness? Would you still deserve patience? Would you still deserve rest? You do not need to answer. Let the question sit, the way a stone sits at the bottom of water. Not disturbing, not demanding, just present. Sometimes healing begins not with answers, but with permission to ask without consequence. After the question of worth is allowed to rest, memory begins to open its door. Not as a story, not as an explanation, just as a presence. Fear around money rarely begins in adulthood. It arrives much earlier, quietly, indirectly. Often it is learned before it is understood. You may remember moments when money was scarce, not in numbers, but in atmosphere. The room felt tighter. Voices became careful. Movement slowed. You might remember adults lowering their voices. Conversations stopping when you entered. Attention that did not need words. No one sat you down to explain fear. You absorbed it. You noticed worry in the way people breathed, in the way decisions were delayed, in the way joy was postponed. Money became associated with unease long before it became associated with value. For some, the memory is not clear. It exists as fragments. A look on someone's face, a sigh held too long, a sudden silence at the table. For others, it is more defined. Arguments late at night, bills stacked but not opened, a sense that something important was unstable. These experiences do not need to be dramatic to leave an imprint. The nervous system learns through repetition. When uncertainty appears often enough, the body remembers. As a child, you did not have language for this. You did not have choice. You simply adapted. You learned to stay alert. You learned to be careful. You learned to sense shifts in the environment. None of this was conscious. It was protective. Fear in these moments was not a weakness. It was a response. And responses learned early tend to follow us quietly. Later in life, when money feels tight or when decisions carry weight, the body reacts before the mind understands why. The chest tightens. The breath shortens. Urgency appears. This reaction is not evidence of failure. It is memory. Not memory as a story, but memory as sensation. You are not overreacting. You are remembering. And remembering does not mean you are broken. It means your system learned something in order to survive. You do not need to revisit these moments in detail. There is no need to relive pain. Just noticing that. Fear had an origin, can soften how you hold yourself now. You were not born afraid of money. You learned it. And what is learned is not a flaw. It is information absorbed under pressure. This understanding changes the tone of the conversation inside. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" the question becomes, "What did I experience?" That shift matters because fear that is seen loses some of its grip. You are not weak for carrying this response. You are human. And the child who first felt that uncertainty did not have the resources you have now. They did the best they could with what was available. You do not need to correct that child. You do not need to fix the past. Just acknowledging their experience is already an act of care. The fear you feel around money today did not come from nowhere. It was learned in moments when safety felt uncertain. And learning fear is not the same as being fearful. Right now, you are allowed to hold that truth gently. Nothing needs to be resolved. The past does not need to be rewritten. It is enough to recognize that this fear was not a personal failure. It was a lesson absorbed before you had a choice. And knowing that creates a little more space. After recognizing where fear was learned, attention naturally moves inward. Not to understand more, not to fix anything, just to be closer. Inside every adult who worries about money, there is a younger self who learned what it meant to feel unsafe. This child did not think in numbers, did not calculate outcomes, did not understand economics. They felt atmosphere. They noticed when stability shifted. They sensed when something important was missing. This child learned to associate money not with comfort, but with the absence of safety. They may have felt hunger or uncertainty, or simply the tension in the room when adults became quiet. And when safety feels uncertain, the body looks for something to hold on to. For this child, money became that symbol. Not because money itself mattered, but because safety did. This child did not want wealth. They wanted reassurance. They wanted consistency. They wanted to know that tomorrow would arrive intact. They wanted to feel held by something predictable. And when that was missing, the nervous system filled the gap the best way it could. By staying alert, by staying careful, by staying prepared. You did not imagine this. You did not exaggerate it. The child inside you learned very early that ease could disappear. So they stayed watchful. As an adult, this vigilance may still be present. It may show up as worry, as overthinking, as hesitation around spending or resting. But underneath these behaviors is not immaturity. It is protection. This part of you does not need instruction. It does not need explanation. It needs companionship. Right now, there is no lesson to give this child, no mindset to correct, just presence. You do not need to say anything profound. You do not need to reassure with logic. Simply allowing this younger part to be seen changes something. When a child feels unseen, fear grows louder. When a child feels accompanied, fear softens. You may notice sensations as you bring awareness here. A tightening, a tenderness, a heaviness. None of this needs to be moved. You are not here to replace fear with confidence. You are here to sit beside what once felt alone. This is not regression. This is integration. You are not going backward. You are widening your capacity to hold yourself. The child you once were did not need answers. They needed safety. They needed to know that someone was paying attention, that someone would stay, that they did not have to manage everything alone. Money was never the true need. Safety was. Consistency was. Care was. And that need was reasonable. It still is. You may find it helpful to imagine simply being nearby, not fixing, not guiding, just close enough that the child does not feel abandoned. This quiet companionship is often more healing than any explanation. Nothing needs to change tonight. Nothing needs to be resolved. Just letting this part of you exist without being rushed or corrected is enough. The fear you carry has been trying to protect something very tender. And tenderness responds best to gentleness. As you remain near that younger part of yourself, something else begins to surface. Not memories, not scenes, but language. Words you did not choose. Sentences you did not invent. They were spoken around you, about you, sometimes to you, and over time, they learned how to stay. These phrases were rarely shouted. They were often casual, repetitive, presented as truth. You must push harder. You can't stop now. If you don't make money, you're nothing. Only the successful are respected. These were not always said with cruelty. Often, they were said with concern, or urgency, or fear. But the nervous system does not evaluate intention. It absorbs impact. So these words settled quietly. They became familiar. They became background. Not something you thought about, something you lived from. Language shapes perception. When certain phrases are repeated long enough, they stop sounding like opinions and start sounding like facts. Effort becomes identity. Rest becomes suspicious. Worth becomes conditional. And slowly, a belief system forms. Not consciously, not deliberately. It forms through exposure. If you heard that stopping was dangerous, you learn to stay in motion. If you heard that money equals value, you learn to measure yourself accordingly. If you heard that comfort must be earned, you learned to delay relief. These beliefs did not arrive as rules. They arrived as atmosphere. They influenced posture, decision-making, self-talk. They taught the body when to tighten and when to release. Most people never question these beliefs because they feel obvious. Of course I should work harder. Of course I should want more. Of course rest comes later. Questioning them can feel irresponsible, even threatening. But beliefs that operate without awareness tend to cause the deepest pain. Not because they are loud, but because they are constant. You may notice how these phrases appear when you consider slowing down. a subtle voice reminding you that ease must be justified. You may hear them when you hesitate to spend on yourself. A warning that resources must be protected at all costs. You may hear them when you compare your life to others. A suggestion that worth is visible and ranked. These are not your original thoughts. They are inherited, passed down through culture, through family, through systems that rewarded endurance and ignored exhaustion. Recognizing this is not about rejecting effort. It is about seeing where effort was demanded without care. Not all motivation is harmful, but motivation built on fear erodes the nervous system. Beliefs like these create a state of permanent proving, always becoming, never arriving, always improving, never resting. And over time, this constant striving disconnects you from your own experience. Life becomes a performance, not a place to live. You do not need to fight these beliefs. You do not need to replace them with better ones. Just noticing them loosens their hold. When a belief is seen clearly, it becomes a sentence, not a command. It becomes sound, not law. You may begin to hear how often these phrases appear without being invited. And simply noticing that creates space. Space to choose. Space to soften. These words were learned in environments where safety felt conditional. They made sense then. They don't have to run everything now. You are not wrong for having internalized them. You were adapting. And adaptation is intelligent. Right now, nothing needs to be corrected. Just let these words be recognized for what they are. Old messages that once tried to keep you safe. Seeing them clearly is enough for this moment. There is a question that has followed you quietly. It did not arrive suddenly. It grew over time. It learned how to blend into your thinking until it sounded like your own voice. When will it be enough? Enough money? Enough security? Enough proof? This question does not usually feel aggressive. It feels practical, responsible. It presents itself as motivation. But beneath that surface, it carries weight. It keeps the mind leaning forward. It keeps the body braced. Always just beyond the present moment, there is a future requirement waiting to be met. And because the requirement is undefined, it never quite arrives. When will it be enough has no clear endpoint. So the system stays alert. You may notice how often this question appears without being asked. It sits behind decisions, behind hesitation, behind comparison. It whispers during moments that could be simple. Not yet. Not now. Later. This question has kept you moving. It has also kept you tense. It promised safety after completion, but completion keeps shifting. So tonight, there is no attempt to answer it. No reframing, no resolution, just a gentle pause. Instead of following the question forward, you allow it to settle where it is. Like setting down something you have been holding for a long time. Not throwing it away, not rejecting it. Just placing it on the ground. You do not need to know when enough will arrive in order to rest right now. Rest does not require certainty. The body does not need a finished plan to soften. It only needs permission to stop reaching. You may notice resistance here, a subtle pull to pick the question back up, a fear that letting go means losing direction. That fear makes sense. This question once served a purpose. It kept you alert. It helped you survive uncertainty. You do not need to judge it. You are simply noticing that for this moment, you do not need it in your hands. There is a difference between abandoning a question and giving it a place to rest. You are doing the second. As the question rests, you may feel space open, not answers, not clarity, just space. Space where the body does not have to lean forward. Space where the breath can move without agenda. You are not being irresponsible here. You are being present. The question of enough can return later if it needs to. Right now, it does not require your attention. You may quietly notice how it feels to not carry it for a moment. There is nothing to fix in this pause, nothing to optimize, just the experience of not needing to arrive anywhere. You are allowed to be here without knowing what comes next. You are allowed to exist without measuring progress. You are allowed to rest without having earned certainty. And in this quiet space, a gentle truth can be felt without being declared. Maybe it is not always necessary to have an answer. Maybe some questions can be placed down without being resolved. And for now, that is enough. After the question of enough is set down, another weight often reveals itself. Not worry, not fear, blame. Self-blame has a particular tone. It sounds reasonable. It sounds responsible. It reviews the past with the confidence of hindsight. I should have known. I should have waited. I should not have trusted. I should have worked harder. I should have seen it coming. These thoughts appear quietly. They do not scream. They settle into the body as heaviness. Many people carry a private list of financial mistakes, decisions that did not work, risks that cost too much, moments of trust that were not returned. They replay these moments as if repetition could undo them. But repetition does not heal. It tightens. Self-blame creates the illusion of control. If I blame myself enough, maybe it won't happen again. But blame does not prevent pain. It only adds another layer to it. Tonight, there is no argument against these memories, no attempt to justify them. This is not about saying you did everything right. It is about seeing the context clearly. Every decision you made was made inside a moment shaped by information you had then, energy you had then, resources you had then. Pressure narrows perception. Fear shortens timelines. When the nervous system is focused on survival, it chooses speed over precision. That is not a moral failure. That is biology. Looking back from safety often makes past choices look careless. But they were not made from safety. They were made from urgency. You were responding to what felt necessary at the time. Paying a bill, avoiding loss, protecting someone, protecting yourself. You did not choose with clarity. You chose with capacity. And capacity changes under stress. Blame ignores this. Blame pretends you had options that were not actually available. It imagines a calmer version of you that did not exist in that moment. Releasing blame does not mean denying consequences. It means releasing punishment. Punishment does not improve understanding. It freezes it. You may notice resistance here. A belief that letting go of blame means letting go of responsibility. But responsibility and punishment are not the same. You can learn without hurting yourself. You can remember without reopening wounds. Blame keeps the nervous system in the past. Release allows it to return to the present. There is no need to list every mistake tonight. No need to revisit details. Just notice the weight of judgment and how long you have been carrying it. That weight did not make you wiser. It made you tired. And tired people deserve rest, not more discipline. You were not reckless. You were not stupid. You were responding to pressure. You were making choices inside uncertainty. You were trying to keep things from falling apart. That matters. If there is one sentence that can be allowed to land gently here, let it be this. At that time, you were trying to survive. Survival decisions are not evaluated by perfection. They are measured by continuation. You are still here. That does not erase loss, but it reframes it. Nothing needs to be forgiven dramatically. Nothing needs to be corrected tonight. Just allow the body to stop rehearsing punishment. The past does not need another trial. It needs understanding. And understanding does not raise its voice. It softens. For now, that is enough. After self-blame begins to loosen, a quieter realization can surface. The problem was never only money. Money has many forms, many amounts, many outcomes. But exhaustion looks surprisingly similar across very different financial lives. There are people with very little who sleep peacefully. And there are people with a great deal who wake up already tired. This contrast can be confusing if money is believed to be the source of strain. But strain does not come from numbers alone. It comes from tension, the kind of tension that never turns off. Some people live with limited resources, but have learned how to release their bodies at night. They are not free from difficulty, but their nervous systems are not constantly braced. Others live with abundance, yet remain perpetually alert. Every gain brings more responsibility. Every success adds another layer to maintain. The body does not respond to wealth. It responds to pressure. Pressure to keep up. Pressure to protect. Pressure to never slip. Over time, this pressure becomes a way of living. The shoulders stay lifted. The jaw stays tight. The breath stays shallow. Even during moments that should feel calm, there is an underlying readiness. This is what drains energy. Not money itself, but the posture required to live around it. When life becomes organized entirely around earning, protecting, and sustaining income, the system never fully rests. There is always something at stake. This does not mean ambition is wrong. It means constant vigilance has a cost. The body cannot distinguish between a real emergency and a prolonged sense of urgency. Both activate the same response. So when urgency becomes normal, fatigue becomes chronic. Many people assume that once they have more money, the tension will dissolve. But tension does not dissolve on its own. It must be released. Without release, even abundance can feel heavy. This is why some people feel most exhausted, not when they have the least, but when they feel the most responsible. Responsibility without rest creates depletion. You may notice how this shows up in your own life. Moments when money is present, but ease is not. Moments when stability exists, but the body does not believe it. This is not because you are ungrateful. It is because the system has learned to stay prepared. Preparedness can be useful. It can also become imprisoning. Living for money often means living ahead of yourself, ahead of the present moment, ahead of the body's signals. The mind leads, the body follows, strained. Eventually, the body speaks through exhaustion, not as failure, as communication. This exhaustion is not asking for more effort. It is asking for relief. Relief does not mean irresponsibility. It means rebalancing. It means noticing where tension has replaced trust, where holding has replaced living. Money is a tool. It was never meant to be a constant threat. When the relationship with money becomes fear-based, life shrinks. When the relationship softens, space returns. This does not require a different income. It requires a different nervous system experience. Tonight, nothing needs to change externally. Just noticing that your fatigue may not be about money at all can already ease something. You are not tired because you failed. You are tired because you have been tense, and tension can be softened. Not all at once, not by force, but by understanding where the true cost has been. For now, let this distinction rest. Money is not the thing draining you. The way your body has had to live around it is. After recognizing how tension forms around money, another layer begins to loosen. The pressure to become. Not better, not wiser, just different. Comparison rarely announces itself. It slips in quietly, through images, through stories, through subtle measurements. Someone else seems calmer. Someone else seems further ahead. Someone else appears to have figured it out. And without realizing it, the body tightens. Comparison does not always feel competitive. Often it feels instructional. This is what success looks like. This is how life should be. This is where you should be by now. These messages do not shout. They accumulate. They create a quiet sense that who you are is slightly behind. That who you are requires improvement. The pressure to succeed often disguises itself as inspiration. But inspiration that comes with urgency leaves no room to rest. The nervous system hears it as demand. Keep going, catch up, do more. And slowly, life becomes a performance, not lived, maintained. You may notice how often your attention moves outward, checking progress, measuring outcomes, evaluating position. All of this effort aimed at becoming acceptable. But acceptance does not arrive through comparison. Comparison only creates distance. Distance from your own pace. Distance from your own rhythm. When you live inside comparison, there is always someone ahead. Always a version of life that seems more complete. So arrival never happens. You are always almost enough. This state is exhausting. Not because you are lazy, but because you are constantly adjusting yourself to meet an external image. The body feels this adjustment. It shows up as restlessness, as dissatisfaction, as a sense that stillness is undeserved. But stillness does not require permission. Worth does not require alignment with someone else's timeline. You were never meant to be measured against another life. Different conditions, different histories, different nervous systems. Comparison ignores context. It flattens experience into ranking. Tonight, there is no need to push against these tendencies. No need to convince yourself that comparison is wrong. Just notice how it feels when you are not comparing, even briefly. Notice what happens in the body when there is no one to measure against. No imaginary audience, no standard to meet. There may be relief. There may be discomfort. Both are welcome. You do not need to erase ambition. You do not need to reject growth. But growth that is driven by self-rejection is not nourishment. It is strain. True movement comes from curiosity, not pressure. From interest, not inadequacy. Tonight, you are allowed to step out of the role you have been performing. You are allowed to stop managing how you appear. You are allowed to rest without improving. There is nothing you need to prove to justify your place here. No resume required, no metrics needed. Your existence is not a project. It does not need optimization. Right now, there is no comparison to win, no future version to catch, no success to demonstrate, just this moment. And in this moment, you are already allowed to be. You do not need to show progress. You do not need to show strength. You do not need to show potential. You are enough to rest. If one sentence can land softly here, let it be this: you do not need to prove anything more tonight. Let that sentence remain unchallenged. No argument, no conditions. Just let it sit like a quiet permission. As the need to prove dissolves, the body is ready for something simpler. Not insight, not resolution, not a breakthrough, just rest. This part does not offer solutions. It does not close loops. It does not tie anything neatly together. It speaks only in truths that are already present. You may notice that today did not resolve everything. Some things remain unfinished. Some questions remain unanswered. Some weight is still there. This is not a mistake. Life rarely completes itself in a single day. There are emails not sent, decisions not made, conversations postponed. There are responsibilities that will still exist tomorrow, not because you failed, but because being human means carrying things over. Tonight does not ask you to finish your life. It only asks you to end the day. You might notice a part of you that wants to review, to check what could have been done better, to rehearse what should happen next. That part is familiar. It has worked hard for a long time. You do not need to silence it. You do not need to argue with it. Just let it sit nearby without following it. Because right now, nothing needs to be solved. Today is already complete in the only way days ever are, by passing. You are allowed to stop mid-sentence. You are allowed to pause without conclusion. There is no penalty for leaving things undone overnight. The world does not collapse because you rest. The body understands this, even if the mind hesitates. Notice something very simple. You are still here. After everything you carried today, you are still here. Breathing is still happening, without effort. Inhale arrives, exhale follows. No instructions required. This alone is not small. Staying is not nothing. There were moments today that were heavier than expected. Moments when energy dropped. Moments when patience ran thin. You did not disappear. You stayed. That counts. You may feel that you did not do enough today. That is a common feeling. But enough is a moving target that was never meant to be reached daily. Some days are for building. Some days are for maintaining. Some days are for simply enduring. Enduring is not failure. It is participation. You showed up to today as you were. That is the only requirement that was ever real. You are not asked to be inspired tonight. You are not asked to feel hopeful. Neutral is enough. Tired is enough. Present is enough. There is a quiet dignity in allowing the day to be imperfect and still letting it end. You do not owe today a summary. You do not owe it a lesson. It does not need to mean anything. It was simply lived. If there is tension still in the body, let it be there. You do not need to release it completely. Sleep does not require total relaxation. It only requires permission to stop trying. You can fall asleep without understanding everything. You can fall asleep without fixing anything. You can fall asleep with questions still open. The night is wide enough to hold unfinished lives. Let a few simple truths repeat quietly now. Today, you did not resolve everything, and that is not a problem. Today, you are still here, still breathing, still present in this moment. That is enough for today. Nothing more is needed. No improvement, no clarity, No next step, just this. Breath coming in, breath going out. The body knows what to do when effort is no longer required. Let it take over.